Hi guys, welcome to another video. I know it's been a while. But I had to mentally recover from something that happened to me about a month ago before I could post another video. Not to mention the load of work that I've had in the past months that has stopped me from preparing a video. I actually, as you can tell by the title, got robbed almost, kind of. And let me tell you my story about it, and perhaps it will help someone. And let me tell you how I protected myself from that before, and what I've learned from this experience, and what additional things I do now to protect myself and my belongings from events like that. So let me back up. About a month ago, I was coming back from the airport. About a month and a half ago, actually, I was coming back from the airport from a trip to Paris. I was stuck in traffic from the airport and I received a call from my guardian. If you know who a guardian is, in France, it's someone who looks after like your building, basically. So while I was stuck in traffic, I received a call that there was an attempted robbery on my apartment. And I say attempted because they didn't know at a time if they actually managed to get in and take something or not, because I was very lucky, but one of my neighbors heard the noise and he ran down and he spooked them. Basically, he ran after them so that he understood what's going on. Basically, when I arrived, by the way, I learned that his apartment, that poor man, he had been robbed 2 weeks prior to my robbery. So that's just a little insight to wonderful life in Paris. Being stuck in traffic, by the way, one of the longest 30-40 minutes that I spent in torture while I was thinking and playing every scenario in my head about, what they could have done to my place, what they could take, what they could destroy, what things I had, what sentimental things I had, what I didn't have there. It was not a pleasant car ride, I have to say. I arrived back in the building. I saw neighbors just standing there. There was a conversation. There were guardian. The police still hadn't arrived. They had been called like 2 hours ago. The police wasn't there. And I come to my apartment and I can see that my door was broken in half. In half. And I understand that robberies are common pretty much everywhere, but that kind of robbery, that kind of like vandalistic robbery, when there were 3 or 4 men, I believe, just banging the door with their feet, and they actually managed to break the door in 30 seconds in half. It's just like French doors, the culture, and just everything. It's just Paris has become this whole big mess. When I mentioned before, I don't feel safe, wearing expensive things. I don't feel safe going around with a Birkin or a Kelly in the streets. It's for a reason, because it's becoming more and more dangerous. But let me get back to the story. I come back. I see my door broken in half. We're notified that the police is arriving and that we shouldn't touch anything in the meantime, so they can take like fingerprints on whatever evidence is left. So we had to wait for quite a long time. I mean, an hour or an hour and a half before the police finally showed up. They took whatever evidence there was, but we didn't even press charges because I don't know about where you live, but French police is not very famous for that specific kind of efficiency. Yeah, French police not famous for their efficiency in that area specifically, but also like there's it's so difficult to, it's a difficult like situation, because Paris, they don't have cameras, they don't have CCTV, there are no cameras in the building, they're like, the witnesses just saw like people in like hats, and their faces were kind of half covered and they were wearing gloves. I mean, there's very little hope that anyone would be able to find anything whatsoever. And by the way, the neighbor already placed charges because he had been robbed 2 weeks prior to our robbery, and it could have been the same people because they were successful the first time, so they came back the second time, basically. Let's move back to the point. The point of my specific events. The police arrived about an hour and a half. They took like 5 minutes to, I think they took some pictures and whatever. And then we were finally able to enter the apartment. We were asked to look around and make a statement if we believe something is missing or not. And I kind of swept, you know, like my eyes around my apartment, and I thought, okay, this looks untouched. But I hadn't been there for a while because I was away. But from my understanding, they took nothing. But I didn't have a door basically, so I was left without a door. And the night was approaching, and my door was broken in half. I will try to insert some pictures, if I can, of course, if I can post something online. But during my car ride, I was kind of like playing in my head what exactly I have in my apartment, and I have to say that my precautions that I took earlier did for sure kind of minimize the stress and the risk and everything, because I usually don't keep my very expensive things, let's say my most precious, like design and most expensive things in my apartment, especially when I go on holiday. At all times, I usually don't keep everything in my apartment. I kind of rotate it in and out. But when I go away, I definitely put all of those things away. And what I do with them is I basically rent safety deposit boxes and I put them away in those safety deposit boxes. So things like Hermes bags, some of my Chanel's, you know, obviously if you have any money, jewelry, all my Cartier collection is usually in the safety deposit box when I go away. However, obviously when I'm at home and I want to enjoy things and I want to wear them, I try to rotate them as much as I can, but also not keep everything at the same time in the apartment. Like I told you, I think during my Hermes collection video, that my Hermes bags have been sitting in a safety deposit box for like years at this point, because I mentioned that I don't feel safe walking around with an Hermes bag alone in Paris. And you see, like, it's not like an unreasonable fear. It has become a slightly, I don't want to be dramatic, but it has become a dangerous place. I mean, you know, with this obsession of designer things, everyone knows exactly what things are, and they identify them, and they can take it away from you by force or not, or they will force you to give it to them basically. What have I learned? You know, it definitely gives you a perspective on materialistic stuff. As you know, we don't need a reminder, obviously. We all do it for our own enjoyment and because we love fashion. I'm sure you can relate to me as well, that we buy it for our own pleasure, those things to wear, to enjoy, to, you know, to enjoy fashion, because we love fashion, we love those things, and it makes you feel nice wearing those things, not having those things. But you know, a style is something that, clothes for example, it makes you feel a certain way. I think everyone who likes fashion will understand that dressing up, you dress up first and foremost for yourself because you love the way it makes you feel. But it has definitely put a perspective on, one, maybe to not focus so much about expensive things, and two, obviously take precautions, because you are never, one is never safe. I mean, as many precautions as you can take, it can happen to anybody, and you always think that it's not going to happen to you, but it can happen to you. And you know, after I had been robbed, I obviously like called up my friends and I said, oh, this is what happened to me. And then, you know, one of my friends was like, oh my god, my other friend just recently got robbed, and it was in the 16th arrondissement, which, if you know Paris, is like this kind of a wealthy residential area. And she said they took everything, like clothes, shoes, everything. Like, she just sweeps the apartment clean while she was not even away. She was just away for, you know, she was running errands, and then she came back home and her apartment was robbed. And that's just, I can't imagine the trauma, because I kind of had a halfway experience and I'm already kind of traumatized, but I can't imagine when actually people go through something like this. Let me know in the comments down below if you know someone who had been robbed or had a similar experience. Let me know what you think about your own personal like safety and what precautions do you take, and you know, your philosophy about those things. And so yeah, I will obviously still continue to buy things that I enjoy and I like, but at the same time, I've already had that feeling, you know, I had already had that feeling of that kind of over luxury fatigue when, you know, I got tired of hunting down Hermes things and like hunting down that piece. And I was never a trend getter. For example, if something was trendy, I wouldn't feel obliged to get it. That was never the case for me personally, but I really want like that Birkin, or I really want another Hermes bag, and I felt like the urge to get that bag, or I really want a Chanel bag, and now I'm just like, well, let's just have fun with the style. Let's pick and choose what we like, because I think that it's very easy to lose yourself in those moments of, you know, when social media is just imposing those things on us, when everyone's unboxing those Hermes bags like there's no tomorrow, but then you are just like forced, like your brain like forces you to think that you really need one, but in reality you really don't. I mean, there are so many beautiful things in this world, and I'm losing my chain of thought. um but basically, I will be back on the channel. I apologize for missing, but this has happened to me and I needed some time to recover from it. I also needed some time to kind of feel relatively safe back in my home. And let me, by the way, mention the precautions that I took further to minimize the risk, let's say, of being robbed again. So obviously the door, I had to replace it at my own cost, even though I'm a renter, because the person you're renting the apartment from, as nice as they are, they might not have the interest to offer you, like, let's say, the most expensive security that you can. It's, I think, my own personal choice that I have to make. So I had to buy that specific reinforced door that is now like a piece of metal that you will not be able to, that like one would never be able to break, you know, at my own cost, like at my own, from my own pocket. Cameras, you know, motion detectors, alarm, all of those things. But even that obviously doesn't will not protect one, and it still can happen, but it definitely reduces the risk of, let's say, casualties by, let's say, less professional people. And I have to say that at that moment when I received that call, I was so happy that I was, I don't want to say smart enough, but maybe like careful enough, that I thought about obviously never keeping things in my apartment when I leave. So, you know, I have been doing it for years. I have been renting those safety deposit boxes for years, where I just deposit my, let's say, valuables when I leave, like most expensive valuables, obviously. But even then, you know, one could lose all their sentimental things, and that is a huge strain, psychological strain as well. But anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Thank you for watching the video. I hope it helps someone, and I hope it helps someone maybe make the right choices until it's too late. You know, don't keep all your things at your home. Try to like diversify the risk. Make sure you're thinking about it. Make sure you don't think that it would never happen to you. And you know, it can happen to anyone else, but not yourself. No, it can happen to anyone. So just be smart about it. So, you know, it was such a sad realization, because even though I didn't have my most valuable things in there, I had my sentimental things. I had my camera with my footage from the vlog, for the vlog that I filmed, that is very special, that's coming up, and all those memories, and, you know, and then having this sort of like this footage and this pictures just being in someone else's hands is just sad. Or, you know, just general like clothing items. Some have sentimental value, and some I've been building, like, let's say, a collection of really nice coats for the past like decade, because it's an expensive piece and I buy a couple every other year, and I invest my money in it so that I will have nicer things, you know, nicer looking things that I will enjoy. And so I know that Usually what they take is like jewelry, money and equipment, but my friend's friend, they took everything from her, everything. She said they took clothes, they took shoes, they took everything. Anyway, let's finish the video on a bright note. I was incredibly happy. I thanked my neighbor so many times. I gifted him things for helping me out because he saved my apartment. And it was courageous of him to get out there and just, you know, rush to my door and scare them away, and I was incredibly lucky basically. This video has a good ending for sure. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you subscribe if you're not yet. Please like the video, click the notification bell, and this time for sure I will see you very soon. Bye.